Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Getting back to work on the Sig P227 in this video. Last video I posted was my final wrap up on the Glock 30, but yeah, before that I did a quick intro to this gun, which is a used model that is new to me. So as stated in that intro video, the plan is to do similar to what I've done with all my other firearms. I'm going to do some video series on the complete teardown, detail, disassembly, and also going through and polishing, cleaning up, things like that, any of the internal parts, just to see if we can make a better firing firearm to make use of. One thing I mentioned also in that prior video was there was a bag of parts that came in the box with the firearm. This bag right here. And I did look online, and I was pretty sure that this was the SRT kit. Well, these were the original parts, and this firearm has an SRT kit, and I did confirm that. These are the OEM sear and safety lever, so this should have the SRT sear and safety lever in the firearm. I will confirm that once everything is apart. So first thing I'm going to do with firearm is remove the grip module, and then I can start disassembling the, well, first I'm going to do the field strip, get the slide off, everything, and then it is going to be removing the grip module and going from there as far as the parts go. So first thing I do want to show you, though, is before I start, like always, gun's clear, nothing in the barrel, and no magazine. So clear firearm, good to go. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and remove the slide. Pretty straightforward on these classic SIGs. Just need to slip the takedown lever down like that, release it, comes right off. So there is the slide. I'm going to push this off to the side because that is not anything I'm going to need in this video. All right, so the next step is going to be remove the grip assembly. And older classic line SIGs, you may have the screwed on two-piece assembly where you'll have two screws on each side that you have to remove. Some of the newer ones have this modular one piece, and the way this is held on is there's tabs inside that grab into those slots in the frame. Now, if you bought this gun new or hopefully used, you should have some sort of tool that came with it. This is used as multiple things. This is a cleaning tool. You can run patches through the barrel, things like that. But then this is also your grip module removal tool. That's what these two tabs are here. They align with the slotted tabs that you can see inside the frame, and that will put outward pressure on the grip module when you twist it, so you should be able to slide the grip module backwards and off. There are some variants I've seen some of these that just have one single large tab. I guess it all depends on your firearm. So what you would need to do though is install it like this, insert it in the frame, and find the little grooves, like the bottom one that's kind of lashed in right there, that holds the grip module, and you can see you put a little side pressure, it's going to loosen itself up. And what you'll want to do is, it'll probably make your life easiest if you can slide like a credit card or something like that underneath on this side, and then do the same thing with this side to get the pressure off of the frame and slide the module off. All right, and here's the frame with the module off, and you can see, the slots I'm talking about that the tool fits into. I actually did not use a credit card. What I did is, I twisted basically this way, and it kind of disengaged this portion. I was able to push back on a little bit, and then I reversed the twist, and same thing, pushing like with a backward direction with the side I'm trying to release, and it released the other side. And then while pushing against the grip module with my thumb, I was just kind of twisting back and forth, and it was enough to walk it off. So using that tool, grip module removed, no problem. All right, so next up is the decocker, and I've actually already removed it. It's pretty straightforward. You'll see this spring sitting in its place there, and on this end, this tab goes into a hole right there on the actual decock lever. I just used a small pair of needle nose pliers or whatever, pulled up on it, released the tension. When you release the tension, you can walk this end out of the bushing that it sits into here in that groove, and when you do that, this will drop through. It'll just tip it upside down, it'll come out of the handle, and then the decock lever can be removed. So I'm going to put these parts together off to the side and come back for the next step. All right, next thing I'm going to remove is the hammer spring and strut. And basically you just need to get some upward pressure on this. It slots into a groove here. Push this assembly up, and then you can pull it back and out. All right, and then here's the hammer, strut, and spring assembly. Again, these little tabs here are what can hook in that little notch on the bottom of the frame. So I just use a small flathead in the slot on the bottom of the retainer there, and was able to just push up ever so gently and then walk it right out and pull back down. And this is the orientation that the actual strut goes into the bottom of the hammer. Next is the trigger spring, which that's pretty straightforward. You just push down here, walk it out, and then walk it out of the frame like so. And there is your trigger spring. Next is the takedown lever. Basically what you do is you rotate it 180 degrees from where it would be when everything's assembled, and you'll see it starts to pop free, and you can just give her a little wiggle and walk it out of the hole. There's like a detent in it that keeps it in place. So I'm just gonna grab it and get it removed with, just need both hands. Right, here you can see the takedown lever removed, and what it is there's a little spring there that you have to kind of manipulate to get it in and out. So that's why it helps to have it up close and both hands. All right, with the takedown lever removed, next on the list is going to be the actual locking block, and you need to make sure you have the trigger forward in that position. If for some reason it's like the hammer's back and it's not wanting to come forward, you can manipulate the sear with like a flat blade screwdriver, which is in here. You'll be able to see that's what's keeping the hammer from coming forward. You can manipulate that and then get the trigger to pull forward. And once you do that, it just takes a little bit of a wiggle and it comes out at an angle just like so. And there is the locking block removed. And once you have that out, you should be able to pop out the trigger pin with a tool like so, and start removing the trigger assembly. There's the pin, and then you can pull the trigger out of the frame. Let me get both hands, I'll be right back. All right, here you can see the trigger and trigger bar are out. This is basically how they would sit in the firearm. And you basically had to, or what I had to do was push up from the bottom and angle this up like that, and then I could walk it out at an angle because I had to walk it around the safety feature there. So the end of the bar just needs to walk around like that, and it'll come out the top. All right, one other thing I want to mention is when I pulled the locking block out, this would be the left side of it. It would sit like that, and this is the forward end. And I pulled the trigger pin out. The slide catch came out, and there is a spring for the slide catch, but it is part of the locking block assembly, so it should stay on there, and this should come out with the locking block. When you pull everything out, it kind of will come out all as one piece because this kind of sits roughly right about there. So real quick, I grabbed a few things. I kind of want to demonstrate just how all this works. As far as the trigger pin goes, if you'll notice, one side has texture on it, one does not. The texture side is going to be this side of the firearm, and the reason is, you can see how the spring works with the slide catch. It pushes down on it, but it will be fighting the magazine when it's pushed up. So that's how that mechanism works. But as far as this pin goes, you'll notice it has a couple of grooves in it, and those do need to sit in the bottom. They fit into each side of the locking block. So it is important that you have this pin in the right spot, in the right direction, so everything fits together as it should. All right, so now that that's all out, we're down pretty much just to the hammer, sear, and safety assembly, as well as the ejector. I'm not taking out the magazine release because that really has no impact on anything, so that's going to stay in place. But as far as these parts go, there's two pins. There's one here that holds your hammer, and one pin up here that holds the ejector and a few other parts. So I'm going to go ahead and get those knocked out and remove the parts accordingly. All right, so as you can see, I already pushed through the hammer pin, which is right there, and I've pushed most of the way through the sear pin. So what you're going to do is pull the sear pin out the rest of the way. Now there's a spring on the sear, so that you're going to have to kind of catch that and make sure you manipulate everything and get it out properly. And then once the sear is out, the safety and the hammer can come out of the frame. All right, so here is the sear and the spring that I was talking about. In this spring, there is a tab right here. Let's see if you can see it in the light. It's hard to see, but it's what the ejector, one of the ejector tabs that's part of the frame. That spring goes up under there. So as soon as you pop that pin out, this is going to push downward. So you just kind of walk it out. I walked it out actually through this window here on the side. Came right out. And then once you do that, if you have the other pin for the hammer out, the hammer will come out just like that. And then so will the safety lever will drop out the bottom like so. And then the ejector just walks off of that pin like that. And you have an empty frame. Those are all of the parts that you're looking to take out of the frame. There is one spring still in here for the hammer. It's like a small spring, just kind of put like a pre-tension on it that you can pop out if you want to. It's this pin right here. Will release that little spring. It's really not a necessity thing, but it is something, you know, that you can take out if you want to. It just kind of puts ever so slight preload on this hammer versus the actual main hammer spring. All right, and since a lot of that stuff just kind of fell out, I wanted to show you how things are oriented. You can see here, you've got the safety with the one barb angled upward that goes towards the front of the firearm, and the notch of the sear sits on this side of the safety lever. So I'm going to pick that up so you can see it a little more closely. Here's basically how things sit in there going forward toward the front of the gun. You can see the sear assembly like that. This is the sear pin, and it rides up against the safety, and this little notch goes up towards the top of the firearm. And then the hammer obviously will sit in here, and it catches on the little tab of the sear that you can see right there, like so. There's a couple steps for it as you go through the cocking process. So that is just the generals of how those internals work. All right, well, there you have it. That is the major disassembly takedown of a Sig classic line lower frame. It's very similar across the board for any of the hammer fired classic line dual stack. I've got a 228, a 229, M11A1. They are all pretty much the same parts. Maybe some very slight differences, but this process in itself is pretty much the same. So that's where I'm going to wrap up this video. Next video, I will go ahead and start walking through the cleanup of everything, maybe do a little polish work on parts, things along those lines. So if you like what you're seeing, you want to follow along, please hit like, please hit subscribe, please hit the notification bell. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. I do review them. I will reply. I do have a second YouTube channel devoted to automotive stuff. If that's something that interests you, please check it out. There's a link in the description of this video. I also have a Rumble channel where I am posting a lot of this firearm content. If you're on Rumble, I'd appreciate if you would go over there and follow me there. Definitely helps. That being said, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.